Alright, we're back with hopefully the final video on the 1995 Honda CR250. So if you guys remember way back when we first bought this bike, we bought it for $2,000 and it had a horrible bog. So we actually looked at everything on this bike, power valves, reeds, jetting, everything, and we could not fix the bog. So we ended up tearing apart the engine here, the clutch side, and the top end, and we found that there is a hole going from the clutch side cover to the crankcase here. So there's a big hole right here where that weld is. So that was sucking in air and oil into the crankcase. We also found that the crank seal was slightly weeping, so oil was going into the crankcase as well from the clutch side. So we actually got this case welded up, and there's a couple different spots that had to be welded. Right here there's a crack, right here there's a big hole. Somebody had screwed the bolt in too tight and it cracked right there, so that was repaired. Over here there was a big crack, and then down here a big crack. So we welded that up and now it should be good to go. A lot of people in the comments said instead of getting a new case, just weld it up. New cases were $700, and to weld this up was actually free. So the guy that did the welding is Aaron, his name is. He owns Bulldog Welding out of Michigan, and he is a super nice guy. He actually did all the welding for free for me. Sent me some rags, some towels, some soap, some markers, stickers, pencils, and a couple cards. So if you guys need any welding done, contact Aaron. That's his phone number. And that looks like he does steel, aluminum, and stainless. All I had to pay for was the shipping, which is crazy. So thanks again to Aaron for doing that work. I really appreciate it. I guess he likes watching the channel, so he did the work for free, which is really, really nice of him. Again, if you guys need any work done, Bulldog Welding, give him a call and he should be able to take care of you. So today's goal is to get this engine rebuilt, back onto the bike, and take this thing for the first ride where it hopefully doesn't bog anymore. I've had this bike for a couple months and I probably have over 50 hours into it trying to figure this thing out. So hopefully this is the final fix. Alright, so the main weld that Aaron did was right there. That was the main culprit to why this thing was bogging. He also was nice enough to tap out the threads there, so now we can screw a normal bolt into there as well. Alright, so I went ahead and cleaned out all the case with brake cleaner. Aaron had already cleaned it, and he said there's a couple metal flakes that got in the case. He said he couldn't avoid everything, but he did a great job of cleaning that up. Alright, here are the new crank seals going in. So for this particular machine, it's going to have the spring side facing down, because the high pressure side is the crank case in here. So that's pushing air out this way. So that's why we want the spring going down in. So let's just push that on. Alright, that looks pretty good. Let's pack that full of grease on the inside of here. So this collar has a little lip right there. See that? That's going to be facing up. So put that in just like that. And you're going to have the gear. Also another little lip that way. It's gonna be facing down. And you've got your washer and your bolt. And we're gonna get that torque down. And that is the crank gear. Alright, kickstart mechanism going in. So there's a spring on this side going down. This comes all the way over here. You hear it lock in. Alright, clutch going on next. Bushing bearings going on. Put a little oil on those. And sit and dry for a while. You've got your basket that goes on. Got the Wiseco clutch basket. Making sure these gears are good. Alright, they can go on. Just like that. You're gonna have your washer. Sit there like that. Basket here. Go on like that. You're gonna have your lock washer and your nut. We'll get that torque down. Alright, you can see the lock washer tabs are folded over onto that nut, holding that in place. The clutch rod goes in like that, or piece that goes on top of the clutch rod. You've got your clutch plates. Get those in. Clutch basket's actually kind of grooved. Might have to replace that at some point. Alright, so now the governor's going in. This fits into that groove there. And this is going to fit right onto this here. And this shaft right here is going to fit down into here. Alright, time to get the stator back on. So this is going to go on just like this. And then we've got the flywheel going on. Got the woodruff key right here. That goes on right in here. Just like that. The flywheel goes on over that. And you've got your washer. And your nut. Alright, we're using some of this Moto Seal gasket maker. This is fuel resistant and oil resistant. ultra black gasket maker. Alright, we got the gasket maker on the clutch cover. We've got this rod all the way to the back of the engine. That's how it's supposed to be facing, just like that for the power valve. It's a little tricky. It's the next morning. We let the engine dry. All the covers that we had gasket material on are all hardened up. I put a little bit of gasket material over this weld as well, just in case. That's all hardened up, and then the water pump area is all hardened up, ready to go. Let's talk about the power valves for a second, and this piece right here. So right now you can see this springs back like that. So as the power valves are activated and that governor with the centrifugal force, got like little balls in there, pulls out, this arm actually activates and pulls that way like that and compresses the spring on the governor, and that springs out like that. That's going to be hooked into here, which then in turn pushes that out and activates the power valves up here. So right now, this is how you want to install it. You want this piece all the way down towards the left of the cylinder, and that will be when the power valves are closed, in the fully closed position, and the arm up here will be fully this way. Fully open position is that, and this will be all the way over here like that. So that's fully open, that's fully closed, and the power valves in here, you can see, hopefully you can see in here, you can see they're fully closed right now. And then it will lift up, and that's fully open. Fully closed, fully open. See that? So we want the fully closed position when we install this cylinder onto the engine here. So again, that's going to be fully down. That's going to be fully towards the back of the engine. And then what you can do, what I do, is loosen up the bolt holding that on right there, and you can push that down a little bit so that it can grab that when you put the cylinder on. Otherwise it's really hard to see. This base gasket on, this can go on just like this. Alright, we can put a little gasket maker on here. Got our bearing here. That all lubed up. Piston. So the arrow points towards the exhaust. They'll say EX on it. Let's get that installed. Now we have to get the other circlip on the other side. Alright, we lubed up the piston on the cylinder. Let's get the cylinder installed. Alright, now this is the important part. That pin has to line up with that. Alright, once we get to this point, I'd like to make sure that the piston moves freely up and down in the cylinder before we lock everything down. And as you can see, everything's moving freely. It's not binding at all. Very smooth. So now we can get the head on. Head going on, the surface looks perfect there. And now we're nuts going on. And in the previous video, we'd already cleaned the power valves, made sure those were perfect, checked the ring gap, and everything like that. Everything checked out, so that's why we're just putting everything back together the way it was. Because it ran good, it was just really boggy. But this bike started first kick every time, and it didn't have any other issues besides the bog. These cylinder nuts are going to be 29 foot-pounds, these are going to be 20 foot-pounds. So let's set those up. Crisscross pattern. Alright, engine is ready to go back in the bike. So, let's get it in and see if she fires up. Alright, we got the clutch hooked up. You can see that's working. Time to get our stator cover on here. Get our kicker on. Nice and smooth. Alright, let's take a quick peek at the carb. I want to see what jetting's in there. So we messed around with the jetting a lot. Just want to make sure it's back to stock. Running a 175 main and a 52 pilot. Let's check out what stock is. So stock for 95 is 175 main, 55 pilot, and needle in the third clip position, which I know that is. So pilot's a little small, but that should work just fine. So we can put this back together. I'm gonna try and get this carb on here. It's a little tricky. Some oil in here. This is going to take, let's see here, 850 milliliters. Just using 10W40 wet clutch oil. Get that dumped in. Perfect. Alright, coolant's topped off in there. That back on. Alright, bike is all back together. Let's see if it still bogs. This is like my third time rebuilding this bike. Alright, sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty peppy. Smoking quite a bit, but smells like two-stroke oil, so hopefully that crank seal is holding up. So I guess what we can do is go take it to the land and see if it still bogs. I do want to quick check the power valves, make sure those are opening. So let's take this cap off. Quick check that before we go. See if those power valves are working. You can see the power valves working. Well, here we go, moment of truth. Will it bog still? I really hope not. I'm really sick of rebuilding this bike, taking it apart, diagnosing it. So hopefully the crank seal and the welding was the trick. Alright, so it was perfect the first couple laps, and then it was breaking up. So I don't know what is going on with this bike. Not a single drip out of the engine. Engine's tight. Everything is perfect. But yet it's still breaking up at top end. It is very, very strange. It's almost like when the bike heats up, that's when it has problems. So it could be like a CDI or a coil. Something is going on. Like I said, it was fine when it was cold. First couple laps, it was perfect, and then started breaking up. So I'm gonna quick check and make sure that the power valves are still opening. What a big bummer. Yep, power valves are unfortunately working perfect. So that is not the problem for sure. Alright, so I saw a little gas leaking out of the float bowl here. So it must have been coming by that seam. So we lowered the float height a little bit. Or raised it, I should say, so that shuts off sooner. Let's just see if that does anything for us. Alright, so changing the float height, you could hear the first run up and down. Sounded really good, really crispy, cleared out completely, and then as it got warmer and warmer, it seems like it's getting boggier and boggier. It's just like brrrr, and it's not clearing out. It's really, really weird. Almost like once it gets warm, it triggers something and the engine acts up. I thought maybe it was a gas cap not venting properly. So we can try riding it without the gas cap too. But we're getting gas flowing to the carb, you can see. And I stopped mid-ride and checked, and we were getting good gas flow to the carb. So I'm kind of now leaning towards electrical. I think it might be that CDI causing issues. Because we swapped the coil last video and it wasn't that. So either the CDI or the stator. We'll have to take the stator readings when this thing's hot and just see what they're at. Because it's acting like the spark is not sparking completely when it's hot. So I thought for sure the hole in the case was going to be the problem and the loose crank seal, but apparently that wasn't the bogging issue. Alright, definitely not the gas cap, still doing the same thing. Just triple checked that the needle quit position was in the third position, the stock position, and it is, so that looked good, so that's definitely not the problem either. Well, we tried adjusting the needle position again. Absolutely zero change. The first couple laps again were fine, and then it just gets really, really boggy. So I don't know what's going on with it. It's got to be that CDI. Alright, so let's just take a look at the plug and see what that plug looks like. I'm really leaning towards electrical at this point. It's got to be. Let's see what the plug color is. Yeah, I mean it's gray. Doesn't look too bad. It's getting a little bit brown there. Let's see what the spark looks like here still. Great blue spark. Yeah, I don't get it. Usually when a CDI goes bad, it won't have any spark. That looks pretty good to me. So at this point, all we can really do is buy a new CDI and test it out. They're like 200 bucks on eBay. I'll drop the 200 bucks and see if that works. Obviously you can't return it once you buy it. There's no returns on CDIs, so it's kind of taking a gamble, and you never know if they're actually in working order. So if somebody has one that they know works and they want to send it to me for testing purposes, and I can send it right back if it doesn't work, let me know in the comments. That would save me 200 bucks. But yeah, I don't know. It's either that or the stator. And last time we checked the stator, every value checked out. So I'm really leaning towards the CDI. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But I'm pretty sure it's gotta be that CDI. I was really hopeful that the weld and the new crank seal was gonna fix the problem, the bogging problem, but it didn't. It's doing the exact same thing. Next video, we'll get the CDI, throw that on, and see if this thing is finally fixed. This thing has been the biggest pain in the butt. I'm really ready to be done with this bike. So hopefully the CDI is a fix and we can be done. But if it's not, I'm sure it's the stator. So we might just buy the stator and the CDI and give it a go. But I hope you guys enjoyed trying to fix up this bike. I've got well over 50 hours into this bike by now, and it's still not fixed. So a little frustrating, but we're not giving up quite yet. So hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video. And until next time, we are out.